Good morning or afternoon, whenever you're watching this. My name is Chance Hayes, and today I will be talking about adoption social workers. That is the career I chose to explore. I chose to investigate this career because recently I've had 2 or 3 of my good friends who have just started the adoption process. And it sparked my interest. I didn't know much about adoption, so I saw this on the list and I chose it. The other thing was I have had friends that I grew up with that were adopted, and I always thought that was cool and it kind of fascinated me, but I never really asked them much about it. I think it's like a more of a sensitive subject, but I just know really nothing about it until I started exploring this career. So without further ado, today I will be talking about what an adoption social worker is and what they do. So, adoption social workers are very valuable to society because they're the ones that facilitate adoption. They facilitate the process between families and the children who are going to be adopted. And sometimes it will provide pre-adoption counseling, and they'll finish with post-adoption counseling just to make sure everything's running smoothly. They are responsible for facilitating the adoption process for both, like I said, the family who is trying to adopt, so the parents who are trying to adopt, and the child who is being adopted. And something kind of cool about adoption social workers, they don't really have a set business place. They don't have like an office. They're going to go many places. So they frequently divide work hours between office, different foster homes, the adoptive parent homes, schools, hospitals, and lots of other places, just because there's a lot involved in adoption, and you have to find the right situations for the children and for the family to work together. Adoption social workers screen potential families, so they'll kind of interview them, and they will provide counseling through the process to try to ensure that mainly the children who are adopted become part of a stable, loving family. They don't want this adoption process to end up in another adoption process. So they want something that's stable and that's going to last a long time. How to become a social worker, of course, depends on schooling. And like most social work degrees, a minimum of a bachelor's in something, usually social work, is required. Most adoption social workers will specialize in something while they're in school, mainly foreign or domestic adoptions. Some can specialize in both, and that's what a lot of adoption social workers will do, just to make sure that they are covered in all circumstances. Like I said, the minimum requirement is a bachelor in social work. These days, it's always very helpful to have a master's in social work. It's not going to hurt you, and it will help you with your licensure. Licensure is required for an adoption social worker. So licensure requires at least a bachelor's in social work, but the licensure varies by state. So depending on where you live or where you're trying to work, you'll have different requirements and fulfillments that you will have to do. And you can always find that online if you just look up licensure for adoption social workers in whatever state. The important thing to note is that the licensure will only account if you are getting licensed by a CSWE accredited school, and CSWE stands for Council on Social Work Education. So make sure that you're in a program that is CSWE accredited. The salary varies, as most websites will say weird ranges, but what I found was a median range from 46,000 to 54,000. There's a lot of higher end salaries as well, though. Who hires? There's two main areas that hire. First is national and local adoption agencies, and the second is state health human services departments. The cool thing to note is the need for adoption social workers will probably increase by 12% between 2019 and 2029. So there is a need for them. Another thing that just contributes to that is there are about 120,000 plus children who are adopted each year. So just think about how many children there are and how many adoption social workers that are needed to get that done. Another interesting fact that I found was, since adoption is not available in all states, you might have to move to a different state to be an adoption social worker. So keep that in mind. To end, I'm going to leave you with this question. What pros and cons can come from pursuing a career in adoption as a social worker? And what mental preparation must be made? Just thinking about, what adoption really is and what can be the struggles. And here are my references.